How do you defeat enemies that you can't even see? Most people think discipline is about raw willpower, about grinding harder than everyone else. But what if that belief is exactly what's been sabotaging you all along? Eastern masters realized that the true killers of discipline are not laziness or weakness, but four invisible enemies that strike before you even notice them. They don't scream, they don't threaten, and they don't even look like enemies. They whisper reasonable doubts, wrap you in comfort, scatter your focus, and finally, when you think you've mastered yourself, they hide inside your strength and collapse it from within. That's why willpower fails. You can force yourself for a day, a week, maybe even a month. But eventually, one of these hidden enemies slips through the cracks. They don't break you with a single blow. They wear you down in sequence, each one softening you for the next, until your so-called discipline turns into nothing more than fragile routine. Think about it. How many times have you started a new habit with full force, only to watch it fade the moment life got too busy or too comfortable? That wasn't you failing. That was the hidden army at work. But here's what the masters discovered. If you can expose these enemies, you can flip the entire battle. Each attacker has a countermeasure, an ancient strategy that not only protects you, but transforms the enemy into an ally. Doubt becomes clarity, comfort becomes readiness, chaos becomes focus, pride becomes humility. What was once your weakness turns into your greatest strength. So in the next few minutes, we're going to name each of these enemies, reveal the ancient countermeasures that neutralize them, and show you how to turn invisible destroyers into silent protectors. The question is, which one is attacking you right now, and are you ready to fight back? The first enemy, doubt. The first enemy of discipline doesn't wait for you to take action. It strikes before you even begin. Taoist masters called it Ye Wu, the confusion of intention. It's that quiet voice in your head that whispers things that sound perfectly reasonable. Maybe I should wait for the right time. Maybe I need more research. What if I'm not ready yet? These thoughts don't feel destructive. In fact, they often disguise themselves as wisdom, as caution, as being smart. But that's exactly the trap. Imagine this: a soldier sharpening his blade while the enemy fortifies their walls. A runner tying and untying his shoes while the starting gun echoes in the distance. A student rewriting the same plan until the deadline has already passed. That's how doubt works. It doesn't strike with fear or panic. It strikes with logic. It convinces you that hesitation is safety, when in reality hesitation is the slow bleed of momentum. There's an old story told by the Taoists about General Zhang, a man undefeated on the battlefield yet nearly destroyed by his own mind. Before every campaign, Zhang would pace inside his tent for days, obsessing over every possible way he could lose. He drew maps of defeats that had never happened. He rehearsed failures that only existed in his imagination. His soldiers watched him, and their faith crumbled. If their invincible general feared defeat so much, how could they believe in victory? By the time Zhang finally ordered an attack, the war was already lost. His enemy had dug trenches, built walls, and strengthened their defenses. He had lost before he even drew his sword. When Zhang's master arrived and saw this, he drew a simple circle in the dirt and said, "Your mind has fought 1,000 battles and lost them all. Your sword has not fought one." The lesson is clear. Doubt is not preparation. Doubt is pre-defeat. It drains energy, erodes confidence, and creates a war that doesn't even exist. So how do you defeat this first invisible attacker? The masters developed a technique called the 3-breath commitment. It sounds simple, but it cuts through doubt like a blade. Here's how it works. First breath. Notice the resistance. Don't fight it. Don't argue with it. Simply acknowledge that the doubt is present. Second breath. Name it for what it is. This isn't wisdom. This isn't strategy. This is Ye Wu, the first enemy. Third breath. Commit to action before your mind can create another objection. Send the email. Step into the gym. Start writing the first sentence. Take the first swing. That's it. 3. Breath. Action before overthinking has a chance to sabotage you. Try it right now. Think of something you've been avoiding. That workout, that conversation, that decision. Stop watching your mind run circles around it. First breath, recognize the resistance. Second breath, call it by its name. Third breath, move before you can argue. And here's the paradox. The moment you act, doubt vanishes. You'll notice it has no power once you step forward. But defeating doubt doesn't fill you with confidence. It leaves something else behind. An emptiness. And that emptiness doesn't stay empty for long. Because the moment doubt is gone, the second enemy is already waiting for you. And this one is far deadlier. The second enemy, comfort defeating doubt, leaves you with clarity. But clarity alone is dangerous, because when your mind is no longer debating with itself, it begins to seek safety. And that's when the second enemy arrives. The Buddhists called it ani, which translates to uncomfortable stagnation. But don't be fooled by the name. Ani doesn't feel like an enemy. It feels like a soft blanket, a warm room, a comfortable chair. It doesn't scare you, it seduces you. Unlike doubt, which announces itself with anxiety, ani slides in silently. It whispers, "You've earned a break. You deserve to relax. Why make things harder than they need to be?" And at first, that sounds harmless. What's wrong with comfort? Isn't that what everyone works for? But here's the danger. Comfort doesn't kill you with pain. It kills you with softness. It strips away your ability to handle discomfort until discipline feels impossible. There's an ancient parable about a wealthy merchant who built himself a palace of pure gold. Every surface was smooth, every edge polished, every need satisfied before he even felt it. Servants brought food before he was hungry. Musicians played before he was bored. He never had to lift a finger. For a year he believed he had achieved perfection. But after 2 years, he couldn't walk to his own garden without exhaustion. After 3, he could no longer make simple decisions without collapsing in confusion. The palace that promised him freedom had become a prison of luxury. His wealth hadn't made him powerful, it had made him weak. That's ani, and you're living in its palace every day. Your phone knows exactly which videos will keep you scrolling. Your couch remembers the shape of your body. Your routines are so predictable that breaking them feels like climbing a mountain. Algorithms eliminate friction from your life, and you celebrate it. But the truth is, every convenience robs you of resilience. Every unnecessary comfort dulls your edge. Ani doesn't need to argue with you. It just waits for you to get soft. So how do you fight an enemy that hides in your pillows, your screens, your daily habits? The ancient masters developed the controlled discomfort protocol, small, deliberate challenges designed to keep your edge sharp without destroying you. But here's the secret. You don't fight comfort by chasing pain. You fight it by strategic positioning. You rearrange your life so that discipline becomes the path of least resistance. That same merchant escaped his golden prison with 3 small changes. He removed all the chairs from his study, forcing himself to stand or sit on the floor. He ate his morning meal only after completing one meaningful task, and he washed himself with cold water before he allowed warm. Each adjustment was simple. None of them required heroism, but slowly, he remembered what it felt like to move, to choose, to live. Your modern version is just as straightforward. Delete the apps that trap you. Put your gym clothes at the foot of your bed so they're the first thing you see in the morning. Keep healthy food at eye level and hide the junk food. Make the right choice, the easy choice. Discipline doesn't have to be a constant battle. It just needs a battlefield arranged in your favor. Here's your test. Identify 3 comfort traps in your life right now. Your endless scroll, your snooze button, your favorite excuse. Then redesign your environment so that discipline happens automatically. Do this, and you'll feel Ani's grip loosen. But beware, Ani isn't just keeping you comfortable for its own sake, it's preparing you for the next attack. Because when you can no longer hide inside comfort, your mind has nowhere left to run except into chaos. And that's when the third enemy appears, and it doesn't fight you directly. It multiplies everything you've built and turns it against you. The third enemy, distraction. The moment you break free from doubt and escape the trap of comfort, you feel unstoppable. You've committed to action, you've reshaped your environment, and for a brief moment, discipline feels natural. But that's exactly when the third enemy shows itself. The Zen masters called it Sanluan, the scattered spirit. Unlike doubt, which questions you, or comfort, which seduces you, this enemy simply pulls you apart. Sanluan doesn't arrive as a single opponent. It arrives as 1,000 small arrows, each one demanding a piece of your attention. A buzzing notification, a half-formed thought, an endless to-do list. And here's what makes it especially dangerous. Sanluan doesn't just attack your weaknesses, it weaponizes your victories. The clarity you gained from defeating doubt, Sanluan turns it into overthinking. The readiness you gained from escaping comfort, Sanluan floods it with noise. It's the multiplier enemy, the one that transforms your strength into chaos. There's an old story about Master Yuan, the greatest archer in China. He could hit a sparrow in flight, thread an arrow through a keyhole, even split a grain of rice from 100 paces. But one day, he tried to hit 3 targets at once. He missed them all. His teacher blindfolded him and said, "Now hit the center target." Yuan protested, "I can't see anything." His teacher replied, "Exactly. When you see everything, you hit nothing." That is Sanluan. And if you think it only plagued ancient monks, look at your own life. You wake up and within minutes your phone has shown you a dozen messages, 100 updates, and 1,000 lives you're not living. You convince yourself that multitasking is productivity, that scrolling is relaxation, that constant switching is normal. But each fracture in your attention makes you weaker, more scattered, less capable of holding discipline together. Sanluan thrives in this chaos. The monks had a weapon against it. Single-point meditation, hours spent focusing on a single candle flame or breath, until the mind became unshakable. But you don't live in a temple. You live in a battlefield of distractions designed to scatter you. That's why the masters adapted their practice into something sharper, quicker, more brutal, the 90-second reset protocol. Here's how it works. The moment you feel your mind fragmenting, when you're scrolling without purpose, juggling too many tabs, or drowning in half-finished tasks, stop. Set a timer for 90 seconds. Choose one point of focus, your breath, a spot on the wall, the feeling of your feet against the ground. For those 90 seconds, that point becomes your entire universe. Nothing else matters. And here's the trick. Every time your mind wanders, simply note thinking and return to the point. Don't fight, don't judge, just return. Again and again. This isn't meditation, it's combat training. You're building the mental muscle Sanluan has been trying to dissolve. You're teaching your mind that it can hold focus even when chaos is clawing at the edges. Do this 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, evening. Watch how your attention sharpens, how distractions lose their grip, how Sanluan grows weaker each time you bring yourself back. But remember, Sanluan fights hardest when you're closest to breakthrough. It will flood you with noise, tempt you with urgency, scatter you with 1,000 important things. The moment you begin to regain control, and if you defeat it, if you carve focus out of the chaos, you'll feel a dangerous sense of power. You'll believe you've won, that you've finally mastered yourself. And that's when the most dangerous enemy of all steps forward. It doesn't attack your weakness. It waits inside your strength. It's been with you from the beginning, hiding in your victories, feeding on your progress. And when it finally strikes, it doesn't just break your discipline, it makes you worship it. The final enemy. Pride. You've defeated doubt. You've broken free from comfort. You've carved focus out of chaos. For the first time, you feel unshakable. Discipline has become second nature, something you wear like armor. And that is exactly when the most dangerous enemy reveals itself. Unlike the others, this one doesn't weaken your intentions, soften your edge, or scatter your focus. It hides inside your victories. It grows quietly in your strength. The Confucian scholars called it Amen, the pride born from discipline itself. Amen is the most lethal because it only attacks winners. The lazy never meet it. The unfocused never face it. Amen waits until you feel untouchable, until you start believing you've mastered the art of self-control. Then it whispers something subtle. You are disciplined. You are superior. Others should admire your strength. And the moment you believe that, you're already losing. There's a story of a monk named Hui who spent 20 years perfecting his practice. He woke before dawn every day without fail. He meditated through blazing summers and frozen winters. He conquered every distraction, every desire, every weakness. Students came from across China to learn from him. They called him the unmovable mountain. But one morning, a student arrived late. Hui's anger exploded. He scolded the student for disrespect, for weakness, for wasting everyone's time. His words were sharp as blades. That night, Hui could not sleep. He realized the truth. His discipline had become his god, and he had become its prisoner. He was no longer practicing for freedom, but for identity. Within a month, his perfect routines collapsed. The discipline he had worshipped for 2 decades vanished like smoke in the wind. That is the trap of Amen. It turns your discipline into armor and convinces you that armor is your skin. You stop seeing discipline as a tool and start seeing it as who you are. The symptoms are subtle: judging others for their lack of discipline, feeling superior because of your routines, panicking when your systems are disrupted, or worst of all, forgetting why you sought discipline in the first place. Look around and you'll see Amen everywhere. The entrepreneur who wakes at 4 a.m. and sneers at anyone who doesn't. The fitness fanatic who can't skip a workout without spiraling into guilt. The productivity addict who measures their worth in completed tasks. They aren't serving discipline anymore. They're serving the image of being disciplined, and that image is fragile. The moment it cracks, everything they've built collapses with it. So how do you fight an enemy that grows inside your victories? The Zen masters prescribed a weapon sharper than any routine: Shoshin, the beginner's mind protocol. Every morning, before you begin your rituals, spend 30 seconds forgetting everything you think you know about discipline. Approach each task as if you're doing it for the first time. Brush your teeth as if you've never felt water on your mouth. Exercise as if you just discovered movement. Work as if you've never solved a problem before. This isn't pretending, it's remembering. Remembering that discipline was never meant to be worshipped, it was meant to serve. Here's your daily humility checkpoint. Ask yourself, what would I do differently if I had no discipline at all? The answer reveals whether you're using discipline as a tool or being used by it. Because Amen feeds on expertise, on pride, on mastery. But beginner's mind starves it of oxygen. It reminds you that the purpose of discipline is not to polish your identity, but to free you from it. And this leads us to the final paradox. True discipline is invisible. It doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't turn you into a statue of perfection. It simply moves quietly, doing what needs to be done, then disappearing without trace. The highest form of mastery looks like no discipline at all. It adapts without struggle, persists without force, flows without pride. And when someone asks for your secret, you'll have nothing to show them. Because true mastery is invisible, even to yourself. The 4 enemies are no longer hidden. You know their names. You know their patterns. You hold the countermeasures. Doubt disguises itself as wisdom. Comfort disguises itself as safety. Distraction disguises itself as progress. Pride disguises itself as mastery, which means the real question isn't whether they exist. The question is which one is winning in your life right now. Final thoughts. So now you've seen them. The 4 invisible enemies that shape your entire relationship with discipline. They don't show up waving swords. They show up in whispers, in comforts, in little habits that seem harmless until they're not. Doubt convinces you that hesitation is wisdom. Comfort convinces you that softness is freedom. Distraction convinces you that scattering yourself is progress. And pride convinces you that discipline itself is your identity. Each one attacks in sequence. First, doubt erodes your intention. Then comfort weakens your edge. Then distraction fractures your focus. And just when you think you've conquered them all, pride grows inside your victories and tears them apart from within. That's why so many people fail. It's not because they're weak, it's because they're fighting an army they can't see. But now, you can see them, and seeing is half the battle. You know the countermeasures. 3 breaths to defeat doubt. Small, strategic discomfort to escape the comfort trap. 90 seconds of pure focus to cut through distraction. And beginner's mind to keep pride from poisoning your progress. None of these weapons are dramatic. They don't make headlines, but used consistently, they transform invisible enemies into silent protectors. And here's the paradox. True discipline doesn't look disciplined at all. It doesn't shout. It doesn't posture. It doesn't care about appearances. It simply acts. It flows. It persists quietly, invisibly. The greatest warriors, monks, and leaders weren't the ones who tried hardest. They were the ones who learned what they were really fighting. So ask yourself right now, which enemy is winning in your life? Is it the doubt that keeps you waiting? The comfort that keeps you soft? The distractions that scatter you? Or the pride that blinds you with your own success? The battle has already begun. The only question is whether you'll fight it or let these invisible enemies win for you.